This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Sandra Smith, Andrea Tantaros, political commentator and national spokesperson for the Libre Initiative, Rachel Campos-Duffy. And today, oh, stop.
Charlie.
You get
I
so
love
loved
it. I
on.
love it.
You do love to fight. Every time I see you, Charlie, you're fighting with someone on Twitter. Why are you always fighting?
Well, you know, I don't like bullies. And there's these morons on Twitter, these trolls that, just touch stuff off of me. And Twitter say stuff they would never say face to face. I find that like
true.
That is just on the phone constantly. So.
Asking big questions.
Yes, right.
All right. Well,
Where's the
do you know what it is?
No, we
Andrea on this, though, because I know that in some ways you support the president because you agree with Charlie. I've heard you wiping away swaths of civilization, our footprints of civilization now.
It is tragic, and there's a lot of line. We didn't enforce it. We get involved, Harris, and I think we exacerbate our enemies, which we've seen many times before.
The CIA used to do it pretty smartly. They used to execute people. Maybe that's what we need to do. I mean, the CIA used to
going in and taking people out.
There are people on the ground right now. We talked about it yesterday. There's right now a sheikh from Ramadi.
But there's Syrian boots on the ground. Assad, those are actual boots on the ground.
And a company on the outskirts,
right.
That too continues to strengthen
that half.
So here my response.
Yeah, I think this is a real threat. I think it's bad. Yeah. But kids have
Smoking a cigarette in the back parking lot of
Minneapolis, St. Paul, where they've been recruiting to the point where they say it's a real problem on the ground up there to keep these kids not to join ISIS. You think they're just doing that to waste their own?
Kids aren't. Well, but let me say this: I'm attractive, and I think, and I've thought about it a lot. Multicultural. We're the imperialists. We're the bad guys, and so we have created a.
They prick the finger and they.
But listen,
they say
it is not
thousands of terrorist lone wolf living among us. This came out in a memo to us
abroad,
and
why these young people turn. He said that it was about jobs. A way to fight this.
But you can't
I agree.
fight.
You're on stronger ground on the economic standpoint.
I
think kids
fight something with nothing. And the answer to that, all those
recruitment capabilities are proving effective. They're in our
and keep them from recruiting more.
Absolutely.
Sure. But isn't it more duplicitous? I mean, that they won. Why didn't they fire?
Well, that's certainly where you're hearing the.
I hear about vets coming back and waiting a day to get something horrendous. This is an administration. You can't even fire people. It's horrible. The New York City school system used to be the place where you pointed to where big government didn't work, where if you had a teacher hitting on a student, he got put in a rubber.
About Wall Street, because given the choice and competition, and it's disproportionately benefited low-income and minority kids, I've suggested vouchers for
groups, though. I mean, so some of them are very attached to the idea of the VA. I personally agree. I think there should be a voucher problem. There's a complicated system of firing people. On Phoenix, where there was the waiting list and 40 veterans died, that person was fired, but not for the offense of creating a secret waiting list. She was
Capitol Hill, and I know that they've tried desperately to pass legislation to allow the heads of these departments to fire people instead of having to go through the
thing we learned was how many different places to just one hospital.
You do wonder why the.
Isn't this bottom line more about
veterans, and they are the ones that are being, I think, smeared by this kind of dysfunction.
We've already started fighting about this during the break. Well, it looks like men may actually be the vainer sex. According to an online survey, men look at their reflection 23 times a day on average, compared to women who check themselves out just 16 times. The survey also finds that while women are generally checking that nothing is out of place or worrying about love handles or stray eyebrow hairs, guys admit that most of the time they're doing it purely for the pleasure of admiring their favorite body parts.
Obviously,
and the majority of all men are all about the guns. 76% check out their arms all the time. That's followed by their legs, then their smile, and then their hair. Discuss.
All right, show us, Charlie. Show us. Come on.
Look at those.
Where his eyeballs were. I'm going to get in trouble for saying
What?
this because when you're looking at the camera, are you ever actually looking in the camera? I think you're looking at yourself in.
Yeah. I don't even take makeup. They have to become women to a certain extent, where they look at each other. I will say this: the study obviously left out all you girls because you don't
makeup like a breath mint.
Nice try, Charlie.
If somebody offers it to you.
Sis, there's nothing to that, Sandra. Do you think this
Okay, so seriously, 11% of male respondents admitted to looking in the mirror over 30 times a day. I mean, this is just kind of nuts.
You said I look at myself 30 times a day?
Well, and they're doing it at the same time, right? So they're looking in the mirror and they're thinking about sex. Have you watched men at the gym? They stand in front of the mirror and they do the bicep curls, and who knows what's going on.
That's why you look so great. I don't, you know, the gym. Where is that?
Yeah.
What Charlie.
Is that? All right, we're staying right here for Outnumbered Overtime on the web. FoxNews.com/Outnumbered. Click the OT tab. We're back on TV tomorrow at noon Eastern. We're going to get into all this gender stuff because Charlie's fired up. Happening now starts right now.